So when we're talking about shooting on location, like at a restaurant, a question that frequently comes up is it a good idea to shoot tethered? Should I shoot tethered or should I not? That's a great question. What's shakin' bacon? I'm Joni Simon. Welcome to my studio. This is where I do food photography, and the goal here is to improve your food photography skills so you feel confident behind the camera. And like I mentioned today, we are talking about shooting on location. This is really relevant to shooting for restaurants, and this is shoots big and small, that I really believe that tethering can be such a valuable asset to an on-location shoot, even though it is kind of a scary thing to introduce. But for sure, when folks start to ask me about, like, is it a good idea to tether on location or not, I usually have to think there's maybe a little bit of fear motivating that question, because for sure, when you are shooting tethered, the client is seeing your images come through in real time. They're seeing the unedited, they're seeing the test shots, and we start to like run through these scenarios in our mind of, oh, the client's gonna see the images and they're gonna hate it, and they're gonna like hate my photos, and I'm never gonna get hired again, I'm never gonna work in this town again, right? We go through all those worst case scenarios. But I gotta tell you, it is well worth getting over that fear, because I wholeheartedly believe the pros outweigh the cons. Now, of course, if you've spent time in this channel, you know that I am a big fan of shooting tethered in general, no matter where I'm at. And that's primarily for the reason of really ensuring that I've got on a big screen, being able to see on something larger than the LCD screen on the back of the camera, being able to see, like, is the image fully in focus? Do I have enough depth of field? Like, how is the exposure? Really being able to know that I've got the shots. Now, my personal tethering software of choice for all of the various cameras that I have is Shooting in Capture One, because it's such a robust software. I have done a previous video on Shooting in Capture One, so if you missed that, I've got that link down below. But there's also tons of really helpful resources out there about shooting tethered in general, so if you need help with that, if you've not shot tethered before and you think this might be the time, go ahead and check out the description box below. But all of this was recently brought to mind because I was shooting on location for a local restaurant, which I hadn't done in a while because of COVID, but I brought my tethering setup to work with the client, and I was just so incredibly glad that I did. And I was like, I gotta tell my friends all about this, because this is, I think, such an important lesson in why tethering can be so helpful, even if it is scary, because yes, we're kind of like revealing our secret sauce, right? But the very first thing that I like to do when I'm setting up tethered at the location and working with the client is I just kind of give that context, like say, hey, I'm going to be taking these shots. Some of these are test shots. Like it's a process, like explaining the process to them, but then also just explaining that these are the unedited images, that you're seeing my raw images coming through. And so just like the idea of like raw ingredients, that we're seeing the unbaked pizza. So just kind of helping them understand what they're looking at, so that they don't necessarily have the expectation that these are the perfected final images, particularly if there's going to be any sort of like photoshopping or compositing going on. So just fully communicating that with them, which I know that the clients, every time I've ever done that, really appreciate it, because they feel like they're learning about photography, they're learning the process, you're bringing them into it, and everybody always likes to be participating in something. But for this particular shoot, I was on location at the Hermosa Inn here in Phoenix, which is one of my absolute favorite places in all of Phoenix. So if you ever come visit, for sure you got to check out the Hermosa Inn. It's a beautiful place to stay, and their restaurant is phenomenal, and they're famous for their outdoor patio, which we were shooting on. You can see here, and this is like the perfect time of year, spring in Arizona, when we've got, the birds are chirping and the flowers are blooming, and it's just like such a magical place to be. And so in the images, the client had a very specific vision of wanting to be able to incorporate sort of that atmosphere to capture that feeling of being on the patio, while then also showcasing their champagne brunch, with the champagne really being the focus that was important to them. So involving them in that process was so incredibly helpful, and having the images coming into the computer, they were able to see it in a big enough format instead of having to like turn my camera around every time, because bless those little LCD screens, they're too small. So then being able to see it on the computer, they really felt like they were participating. And two, because then when we set up, there was a pour before shot that was going to happen, I was able to kind of line everything up. They were able to see the live view, and so I was able to kind of demonstrate to them what I was going to do and make sure before I did that action and actually poured into the champagne that it was what they were looking for. So it's, you know, as scary as it is to sort of reveal your images as you're working, it's so incredibly helpful because then the client can tell you yes or no, yes, this is what we want, or no, let's change this, so that by the time we finish shooting, I know we've got what they want. That I know that when I eventually send them those final images, they're going to be happy with them because they've already seen them. There's no secrets. But then another thing that really came to mind as I was doing this shoot and really cemented for me the fact that it can be so helpful to shoot tethered on location, just from a customer service experience perspective, that as photographers, professional photographers, that we are a small business. And so when there's opportunities to increase customer service experience, that's always going to be a good thing because, you know, the manager and the PR contact, they're like, man, why doesn't this happen on every shoot? This is so helpful. I mean, it hadn't been something they'd seen before. Now, certainly there's going to be clients that you'll work with who are familiar with tethering and who have experienced this before, but especially if we're talking about local restaurants or smaller brands who don't work with photographers frequently, this will be like something that just looks so impressive. It makes you look like a pro. And you know, I didn't make like a big deal about it when I was setting everything up. I just had my laptop and the tethering cable connected to my camera, and I just kind of pointed it out like, hey, this is going to be happening. I'd love for you to, you know, watch the images as they're coming in, and as we're setting things up, looking at the live view, and let me know what you think. Like, let's do this together. Because when you collaborate with the client in that sort of perspective, then when you leave, even though they don't have the images, because obviously you have to process the images and do all the edits and everything, that they just feel so much more confident because they've already seen the images. They feel good about it, and they're so excited then to receive them. There's no fear or worry that, did we really get what we wanted? Now, I will say the only time that I think it's smart not to tether is if it's literally like we're shooting from the newspaper, or we need to be able to get in and out, like this is a down and dirty, just get the shot and get out. Like, those kind of situations will happen, and so in which case it doesn't necessarily make sense to bust out the whole setup. But in reality, it's not like all that much more gear. It's a cord and a laptop, or if you have some other sort of software that's, you know, sending the signal direct from the camera to an iPad or something, like it's just going to be so much better. So between the peace of mind and the looking like a professional and quality customer service, to me, there's plenty more reasons to shoot tethered on location than to not. Now, the other thing too, because again, people like to come back and say, well, they're seeing my unedited images. Again, if you're using Capture One, and if you've missed this video, I've got a previous one, it's linked down below. But when you're using Capture One, you take that first test shot, and then you can just do some really quick edits, like increase the contrast and clarity, and maybe do some adjustments to the colors, those kind of things. That then you can set it so then each subsequent image that comes in, it automatically applies all those edits. So then as they're seeing each image come in, it's just made those adjustments. So it's just a little bit closer to the final image as opposed to just like the straight out of camera raw image. I hope this has got you excited about tethering. Again, if you're not currently tethering, I just got to push you in that direction, because to me that was one of the biggest game changers for me in improving my food photography. But hopefully you're going to be bold the next time you shoot on location. Bust out that tethering software and see how it's going to really improve your photo shoot and improve the peace of mind. But with that, I hope you have a fantastic day. You stay out of trouble. I'll see you soon, okay? Bye.